Hey everybody, my name is Niall Deehan, Developer Advocate with Camunda. You may recognize me from such places as yesterday's unconference. Well, I have returned and I have swept Jakob off the stage in order to bring you the Community Tech Track. It is with great pleasure that the first talk for the first day of CamundaCon on the Community Tech Track is going to be a great community member all the way from Brazil, William Bezado. William's a solution architect over in Brazil, and he is going to talk to us a lot about the steps in which you go from when building a model all the way to production with microservices. This is really important because the way he's going to talk about it is very practical. We'll be talking about all the individual steps that it takes and the technologies behind it. So without further ado, I would like to introduce William.
That's right. Thank you, Neil. Hi, everyone, and welcome. So are you excited to see some cool stuff here today? So do I. Let's do that. I want to share my screen with you. Just a second. It's okay? So before the cool stuff, we are going to take a look at this picture. So here we can see a bunch of microservices talk to each other. Some of them aren't connected, but it doesn't have to be like that. But how so? Well, that is what this talk is all about. So what are we going to see here together? We are going to see some nice stuff. For example, we can switch from an environment where I already have microservices up and running. You are going to see how you can adopt Camunda with little to no effort. And also, we are going to see how to build a BPM from Camunda modeler and go directly to production up and running. We are going to see the infra code, the pipeline, and DevOps, because DevOps is cool, right? And as part of this journey, we will see that Camunda can be technology independent. That is fantastic, and that's the reason that I fall in love for Camunda. So, enough talk, let's code something, right? Because code is always a nice thing to do. Let's suppose we are working for a company named Camun Bank, and they want to receive, let me minimize. They want to receive credit requests from customers, and based on some rules, it will be automatically approved or denied. And if it's denied, we want someone to analyze it manually. And then after they decided to approve, we want to release the credits for the customer and finally notify the client. So let's do it. So I'm here on the modeler, and I'm going to make everything here. So first of all, we're going to analyze viability. And then we are going to, if everything goes well, release credit. And then finally, we're going to notify customer. So let's make everything on service task so you can run it externally. Service task and finish. We just missed one point for the requirements, that if the automatic check here doesn't go well, if we deny the credit, we want an alternative path. So let's make it. So here, for the alternative path, we are going to do some manual validation. And that's going to be an user task. Just let me make some more space moving this box over here. So let me put another gateway. And here is going to be the happy path. After the manual validation, we approve it. And then here we are going to build the unhappy path. For instance, if the guy who are doing the validation didn't approve you when they denied. Okay, so here it's also the happy path. approved, in here, denied. So that's pretty much it. We have built our model for our Camund bank. So everyone is happy, and now we can deploy it, right? So let's get back to the presentation. This is our model. We get a request credited, and we analyze viability. And if it's approved, you release the credits and then notify customer. And if it's denied, we have a manual validation for a second shot. So let's deploy it. Well, but where we are going to deploy it and how we are going to deploy it. First, I want to show you a model that I think is a right place to start if you don't have decided how. So this is a C4 model. It's a container diagram. And you can see here right in the middle, Camunda app. And by Camunda app, I mean everything that Camunda brings with cockpit, task list, admin panel, and Camunda APIs. And you have your microservices up and running already in your company. And you might be wondering about the worker here. So let's see what the worker can do. When you already have microservices in your company, I want to present you two options to start to adopt Camunda. First option, you can call Camunda APIs directly from your microservices. They can go to Camunda, hey, I have some job to do, they get the job done, and answer back to Camunda, so here, I complete this task. Okay, that's something you can do, but maybe someone think it's faster and you don't have an intermediate layer, but other people think that's not nice because you have to modify all of your microservices. You have to do pooling. Imagine you have 10 or 20 microservices and everyone is doing pooling, and maybe it's not cool. And you have a directly dependency between your microservices and Camunda engine. So the alternative B, I think, it's nicer. That's the option, and I like it the most. You have the worker right here, and this worker is responsible to communicate to Camunda APIs. So the worker is the guy who are going to get the jobs. They will put it on a line in a message queue, and the microservices that are connected to this queue, they can get the job done, publish it back, and the worker knows that the job is done, and talk to Camunda again. Hey, this job is done. Keep going with your process. So, and if you already have messaging in your company, you are in a very good place to start. And just by this advantage, you have to build this worker and one more asset for maintenance. But I think it's worth because the benefit that this approach brings to you. So how are we going to build this? We already have the modeler here. We built together. And we are going to see a bunch of Microsoft stack here. As I said before, it's part of this presentation, and that Camunda is agnostic to technology. It's technology independent. So are going to have running here a worker built on Azure Functions. We are going to use a Servicebus, and the microservices, we don't care. They can be everything. They can be PHP, Java, and C#, JavaScript. And so we are going to use Camunda on Azure here. So what do you need? You just have to provide a service plan, an app service, and a database. That's a cool thing because you are going to provide on Azure a service plan running Linux. That's right. And a database SQL Server. So Camunda can run perfectly in a SQL Server database as well. And container registry, it's optional. You can use your own container registry, or you can use something online. So you're going to use Docker, Terraform, and Azure Devops. And let's see how you can put everything together and build our pipeline. So Okay, now we know how you are going to deploy it. So let's deploy it. Let me go here. So we have our repository here, and I want to show everything in this repository. Here I have the BPM model by itself, and here I have Camunda application. I will not go into details of every file here, just to get your attention here for the Docker file. I get the image from my own container registry, and I want to get your attention here at this point. It's very important if you are going to production, remove the Camunda sample data that comes with. For example, you don't want to put in production with the demo user available for anyone. That's really bad. You can automate your license key on the pipeline too. You can tokenize it here and replace on Azure pipeline or any DevOps tools that you are using. And for server XML, I put the sensitive data here, that my access data to my SQL server, tokenized. We are going to see this in a few seconds in the pipeline. And for the infrastructure, we are using infra as code with Terraform. So what do you need? A service plan. It will go running on Linux, and an app service. An app service in this service plan. That's pretty much it. You don't have to build your own container registry, but you can. You just need these two things. So how is that put together? So here, I would like to show you how you can build your pipeline. So I'm using Azure Devops here. And I have here my artifact that my build pipeline provides. And here I have a few steps on, to put it on production. First of all, I'm going to deploy my infra. I'm going to replace the tokens for Terraform. That's Terraform stuff. It's not part of this talk. And I'm going to apply Terraform, and then I'm going to publish the Docker. So I'm going to replace the tokens on my server XML, that sensitive data to communicate with my database. I'm going to log in, build, publish, Docker, and finally, I'm going to deploy the application here. So as you remove the demo data, we don't have any user after this deploy. So you cannot access Camunda when this is finished. So here I have a step to create a Camunda user. It's a bunch of PowerShell scripts. And this health check here is just for wait to Camunda to go up, because we just create our infra here and publish. So maybe it's take a few seconds to be available, and you have it, and you have to be available to create the user. So you create the user, create the group, add the user to the group. And finally, we are going to deploy our files, our model, this one that we built together here. So this is the pipeline. This is the pipeline to our production environment. And here, Camunda needs you. That's nice. So here, process. I have the credit analyzer here. And for this demonstration, my screen. So I made an app. If you are wondering, that's a Flutter application. And I'm going to send some requests for our common bank. Hey, I want some credit. Give me. Well, that's everything is alive, guys. So something can happen. But I think this is working. I tested it a lot. Okay, our request is already here. I'm going to do some more requests because I want more credit. I'm going to do a lot of requests here so you can see the model working. Okay, let's refresh it. Okay, We have now 4 instances running here on our Camunda model. So I want to show you something really cool. Again, one more thing. Let's suppose we have a new business requirement. For instance, we are taking too long to manual validation our customers' solicitation. And then our company is a really nice company. Automatically approve your request. So let's do it together. This is already finished, and you have just these 3 requests here that was denied for the analyze viability. It's these microservices here, it just flip a coin, so it's 50% to be approved or denied, so some come here. So let's make this modification. If past more than 2 days, we are going to automatically approve that. So here it's our model. So I'm going to put here a boundary event. I'm going to make it a timer boundary event, and it will be duration, period time 2. I not put 2 days here because it's short. I'm going to put 2 minutes. And here I'm going to put another gateway and link it together. So that's okay. We have now a new business requirement here. I'm going to save it and put it on production. So now you're going to see our pipeline working. I'm going to add this modification. Always provide a nice comment, and I'm going to push it. Yeah, so we are doing CI and CD alive here. I just commit in the master, as I don't want to show you any branches here in pull request. It's not the case. So here, after the push is finished, you are going to see that our pipeline is already running here. We'll wait just a little. You can see here it's going to running. Our build. Okay, it's almost finished. It's finished. So now that it's finished, you are going to see our release pipeline is going to start in a second. It's here. As it's a demo, I skipped this step here. I'm sorry. I know everybody wants to see it, but if we have time at the end of this talk, I can show you how everything running. So we are going just to publish our new version of our model. Okay, that's finished. I'm going back to Camunda. I will update our cockpit. So you have now in the version 7. So I have a new version here, version 8, with this new business requirement here. So how I can bring it? I have 3 instances running here, and Camunda have a nice feature that I can migrate this running instance here to the new version. So that's a feature for Enterprise Edition. So I can come here, select the model that I want to migrate from and to here, and I can see the migration plan. It's really nice. Camunda automatically do the map for me to this activity. And I'm just going to select the instance that I want to migrate. I want to migrate all of them. As Neil used to say, every time you are doing something nice on Camunda, you are going to see this message over here. So let's execute migration. So you are migrating 3 instances from one version to another. That's finished. That's really nice. So before we see that, I want to get your attention for logging. When you are using Camunda here, you can provide a business key and carry it all over your process. For example, here we are using a key generated in the first microservices that get the request from the mobile phone, and we can get this ID or maybe the client identification with some information and put it on logging on every microservices, so you can do a traceability like this. I just put here the business key, and I have everything that happens with this request. Criteria request, protocol, and criteria was approved, and then released, and the client was notified. So you can have a really nice log when you have a business key on Camunda and use this business key to log your process. So remember that picture we saw before? A lot of microservices connected, and maybe it's a bit hard to take track of it. So here with Camunda, you have this benefit too. So let's see if the migration already finished. Let's go to our process. So here now we have our new version with that 3 instance that was running on version 7. That's really nice. So after 2 minutes, these guys that is stopped here, they will go start working. I want to do one more cool stuff here. Because it's a manual task, I will go to task list. Here, manual validation. I'm going to got it for me. I'm going to claim it. Load variables. I don't want to approve this guy. This is a request from you. I want to approve his request. I'm going to complete here. And now, if I go back to cockpit, I'm going to my credit analyzer. I go into the history, and I can see that this one I have denied. So it goes to the sad path that I didn't release the credit for a customer. And I will go back to the running instance. And after 2 minutes, it will go, this clock here will trigger, and it's come to here and automatically approve everyone that is waiting for validation. So I just wait a little bit. It's going to be fast. Okay, now it's finally triggered. And as our business rule was, if amount of time was passed, we automatically approve them. So in this history here, we can see where our process was. So I can keep I can keep requests for credit here, and all of our requests is going automatically to this new flow, as you can see here. It's really nice. Our app is still running, and automatically to this new version over here. And now, if I'm going to see the history, I can see I have a new process started, someone is still running, and some of them are already finished. That's really nice. So, okay, we saw how we can deploy it. We saw our pipeline to put it on production. We saw with Terraform, we saw Docker, Azure pipelines, logging. This was our version 1. And then the business requirement came, and you saw how easy it was to put a little timer here. In fact, it's not about the timer, it's about business change. We have one thing in mind, that business rules change. We have to adapt, we have to respond quickly. And Camunda is a fantastic tool. It's based on BPM, it's really nice. Here is the big picture that we build together. We have an application, you have a worker, and this worker get the jobs from Camunda and send it to microservices. Microservices get the job done. They talk back to the worker, and the worker say to Camunda, hey, this job is done, so keep going to your flow. You don't have to call directly the worker from your mobile application. You can have a microservice just to receive this request and then send it to the worker. Your mobile application can call Camunda APIs directly, but I wouldn't recommend that. I don't like this approach, but it's possible. So remember, little effort to adopt Camunda from microservices environment. You have big benefits. It's technology independent. We don't care if Camunda is built in Java, on C# or anything, you can see that you can use Camunda APIs to talk to any other language that we want. And you have huge gain for business. And my time is almost finishing. So before we finish, I want to challenge you to try it out, really. So pick up a process, draw the BPM, and run it locally. You see how amazing it is. And if you get stuck on something, I will be glad to help you guys.
Cool. Thank you so much, William. That was really fun to watch this all the way through. I'll ask you to stop sharing your screen for a moment. Perfect. We do got a whole bunch of questions for you. I really did enjoy that talk a lot. Actually, I had a few questions of my own, but I will be generous now and ask some of the questions that came into the viewers. The first is quite an easy one. The first is the worker that you described in your in the diagram there. Was that the external task worker?
Yes, you can build this worker with any language that you want. And as I said in this talk, it was built on top of Azure Functions with serverless. So this worker, you can go to Camunda APIs and talk to them to get tasks to be done. And then when your microservices finish it, then send back it to the worker, and the worker can say to Camunda, hey, this job is finished, and at the same time, they can get a little more job to be done. And everything you want to communicate with Camunda, you can do in this worker.
Yeah, cool. That's what I suspected. And some people are asking about the code for the external task worker. I'm sure you can drop a link to those in the Slack channel afterwards. If not, then we can definitely find online a pretty good example of external tasks. They are very commonly used. Now, a question that I happen to ask has actually been voted the top, which is great because I get to actually ask it now without any fear that there was a setup. And that is, what about error handling and microservices? Can Camunda deal with that? I am a big fan of talking about error handling and error handling in general, but I'd like your perspective on how that might work.
That's a nice question. You have a few ways to deal with errors. For example, you can. I want to share my screen just a bit.
Sure, go for it. Okay, I can see your screen.
So here, for example, if you have any error on your microservices, you can talk back to the worker, hey, I have an error, and the worker can send to Camunda, hey, I have an error. So here you can do a boundary event here, and you can put an error event, and then deal with the error any way you want. For example, here you can manual check it. Do a manual check here. This can be a user task, and for example, if you want to do some retry or anything like that, you can put a gateway here.
Yeah.
And if you want to retry, you can get back to this task. And if you don't want to execute this task again, you can just bypass something like this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, William. That was really cool. There's a whole bunch more questions that are going to be added to the Slack channel. So for those who asked the questions who didn't get answered, William is going to join now on the Slack channel. Thank you very, very much for this really great talk. It was really, it was quite impressive how short it was. Now, I just want to say that next up, well, first of all, thank you again, William.
Thank you.